And with that being said, the Champions League semifinals are set. We saw one of the craziest matches in the quarterfinals where Bayern Munich beat Real Madrid 4-3. We saw goals from Arda Güler, two of them, one of them being a crazy free kick. We saw a crazy goal from Mbappe, but Pavlovic, Kane, Luis Diaz, and Michael Olise had other things to say. 4-3 Bayern Munich won, 6-4 on aggregate, 10 goals across two legs, and Bayern Munich advanced to the semifinals. And the other semifinal matchup that we have is Arsenal against Atletico Madrid. Haram ball to the finest. Haram ball to 100%. We have Bayern Munich against PSG, and we have Arsenal against Atletico Madrid. Let's stop the joking. Let's stop the joking around. This was insane. This quarterfinal game was crazy. Guys, this was the craziest quarterfinal game I've ever seen in my life. This game was absolutely insane. But this game was horrible. And this game was horrible. Guys, we see two completely different, completely contrasting semifinal matchups. We see PSG against Bayern Munich, the side where we saw PSG beat Liverpool by 4 goals, and we saw Bayern Munich against Real Madrid finish with 10 goals across two legs. Then on the other side, we have Atletico Madrid against Arsenal. The haram of haram ball, bro. This is proper haram ball. Okay? Arsenal, this is the thing. Atletico Madrid, we can't even fully call them haram ball because, to be fair, they were very good in these two ties against Barcelona. And I feel like this season, Atletico Madrid have been really reinventing the way they play football. Atletico Madrid are no longer haram ball. Okay, haram ball is past. That's in the last decade. Now, this Atletico Madrid is different. They play counter-attacking football. They play expansive football. They play fast-paced football. I'm not sure if you can actually call this the haram ball derby. You can call Arsenal the haram ball team, 1,000,000%. But Atletico Madrid, they actually don't play fully haram ball anymore. Now, to be fair, against Barcelona, they had 29% possession, right? They were, for majority of that game, defending with 10 players in their own box. But with that being said, I don't think you can fully call Atletico Madrid haram ball anymore. But these are the two semifinal matchups we have, and I think these are amazing semifinal matchups. Of course, one side of the bracket, the left side of the bracket, is 10 times harder than the right side of the bracket. Realistically, this was always going to be the semifinal matchups. Either this or Arsenal against Barcelona. But I heard a lot of Arsenal fans saying that they would rather get Atletico Madrid. And we're going to talk about it in this video. But in my opinion, I don't know if this is the best for Arsenal. I feel like Arsenal are really underestimating Atletico Madrid. But let's give some early previews into these quarterfinal matchups. So the first quarterfinal matchup we're going to talk about is definitely the more entertaining of the two. And that is PSG against Bayern Munich. This game is being taken place in 2 weeks. And these two teams have a lot of history behind them. Obviously, if you look at the recent history, we see 3 wins for PSG and 8 wins for Bayern Munich. In the last decade or so, Bayern Munich have definitely been the better of the two teams. We've seen these teams come up against each other in so many knockout stage games, and we've seen Bayern Munich win 1-0, Bayern Munich win 2-0, Bayern Munich win 1-0, Bayern Munich win 1-0. So a lot of the time, especially in the last 4 or 5 years, Bayern Munich have gotten the better of PSG. But this is a different PSG team. Did you see this PSG team against Liverpool? 2 wins, no response from Liverpool, not even a goal across 2 legs. The winners of the Premier League last season. Guys, PSG is such an incredible team. Now, I will say in the second leg, Liverpool were very, very good. They had more possession, they were dominant in terms of shots, and they probably should have scored a goal. But at the end of the day, PSG were the more clinical team. But if we look back to that first leg game, it was all PSG. Domination, 75% possession, over 2 expected goals, 18 shots to Liverpool's 3, and Liverpool didn't even have a shot on target. So this shows you that this PSG team is still very, very strong. And PSG looked like a copy and paste version of what they were last year, where they didn't have the best start to the season. They had a little bit of a slower start, but halfway through the season and towards the end of the season, that's when they really shine. That's when in the Champions League, we saw them beat every single English team. Man City, Liverpool, Aston Villa, Arsenal. They beat all the English teams. And once again, this season, beat Chelsea across both legs, beat Liverpool across both legs. This PSG team is going to be hard to beat, but the one team that can beat them is Bayern Munich. And Bayern Munich haven't had an easy road themselves. Obviously, in the league phase, Bayern Munich were very, very good. In the round of 16, we saw them beat Atalanta 10-2 on aggregate. An Atalanta team who won the Europa League just a couple seasons ago. Yes, they don't have the same players that they once did. They don't have Gasperini anymore, but they are still a good team. So scoring 10 goals against Atalanta was insane. And then against Real Madrid. Now, to be fair, once again, Real Madrid haven't been having the best season. But that first leg game, this game was crazy. This game was insane. And specifically, that first half was completely dominated by Bayern Munich. Almost 60% possession. They had many shots. They had over 2 expected goals in the first half. Now, I will say in the second half, Real Madrid were much better. And that was a similar story in this game where, yes, Bayern Munich did get the win and they beat Real Madrid across both legs, but it was very close. Real Madrid had many chances to score in this game and they still performed very good. As you can see, 12 shots on target, 12 shots, 5 shots on target. Real Madrid were very, very good in this game, but Bayern Munich were the better team. And Bayern Munich are great, incredible at holding possession. That's why you see almost 70% possession in this game. Across both first half and second half, they were dominant in terms of possession. So I really feel like this semifinal matchup between PSG and Bayern Munich is going to be incredible. It's going to be so close, and I don't really know who is going to win. But moving on to the other semifinal matchup, we have Atletico Madrid against Arsenal. And this was a different story. This was definitely a different story compared to the left side of the bracket. Obviously, this side of the bracket was much easier. You have relegation teams like Tottenham. You have teams like Bodo Glimt, who, to be fair, were incredible and knocked out Inter Milan, but at the same time, not a very popular or common Champions League team, not a historic Champions League club compared to the clubs on the other side. We have teams like Bodo Glimt, who rarely ever make it this far in the Champions League. And you have teams like Arsenal, who, yes, are having a great season, but don't have any Champions League history compared to these teams on the other side. But let's start off by looking at this Barcelona versus Atletico Madrid tie. Now, these two ties were heavily dominated by Barcelona. If you look at the first tie, Barcelona were dominant on possession. They had more shots, and Atletico Madrid didn't really do too much in the attack. But the thing with Atletico Madrid is they are clinical. They are clinical, and they will make you pay if you make a mistake. We saw Kubarasi get sent off for that stupid challenge on Simeone. Then Alvarez makes them pay with a wonderful free kick. And then in the second half, we saw Sorloth get a goal in the 70th minute, and that was the end of the game, 2-0 to Atletico Madrid. And then in the second leg, once again, Barcelona did get the win, but Atletico Madrid made them pay. They have players like Ademola Lookman who can score goals. Atletico Madrid have a very underrated attack with players like Lookman, Julian Alvarez, Sorloth, even a player like Simeone, Griezmann's still there. They have some world-class attackers. And I still feel like people do underrate Julian Alvarez. And even though sometimes he does have dry spells, but he can definitely punish you. And that's what Atletico Madrid did to Barcelona in this game. Yes, Barcelona got the first goal, right? Lamine Yamal got a goal. Atletico Madrid made a lot of mistakes defensively, especially Longley. I don't know what he was doing, but he was poor in this game. He was so poor. But in the midfield, they were very good. Llorente had an incredible match. For me, probably the best player on Atletico Madrid's team. And even Koke. He's been at this club for so long. He knows what they're about, and he was very good as well. But even though Barcelona did end up winning that game, Atletico Madrid still pulled through, and it definitely was a great performance by Simeone's men. Now, if we look at the other quarterfinal matchup between Sporting and Arsenal, guys, honestly, there's not much to say. There's not much to say about this matchup. This was the most boring quarterfinal matchup I've ever seen in my life. That's how boring this was. It was so boring. So boring. We saw one goal across 2 legs. The first game ended in a 1-0 win to Arsenal, with Havertz getting a last-minute winner. Now, yes, they did score early on in the game, but it was ruled off for offside. And Sporting had many chances to actually score a goal in this game. As you can see, they had a few really good chances. Luis Suarez, Trincao, but they just couldn't finish it off. And then it was a very similar story in the second leg where it ended in a 0-0 draw. Arsenal had many chances, but Sporting had some chances too. This game, I will say, was very 50-50, played heavily in the middle of the pitch. A lot of touches from the defenders and the midfielders. Not much from the attackers. As you can see, one shot on target for Arsenal and one shot on target for Sporting. Guys, this was a snooze fest. If you watched this game over the Real Madrid versus Bayern Munich game, you missed out on one of the best Champions League games this season. But those were the quarterfinals, and now we have the semifinals. We have PSG against Bayern Munich and Atletico Madrid against Arsenal. For me, I have said it multiple times, the winner of the semifinal matchup on the left side of the bracket will win the Champions League. For me, whether it was Barcelona here instead of Atletico Madrid, whether it was Sporting instead of Arsenal, whoever it is on the right side of the bracket, whoever it was on this side of the bracket, I don't think will win. I think whoever plays in the semifinal, whoever advances from the semifinals from this side will win. Whether it was Real Madrid, whether it was Man City, whether it was Liverpool, PSG, Bayern Munich, whoever it was, I think the winner of this semifinal will win. And it does come down to PSG against Bayern Munich. And for me, the winner of these two-legged games will win the Champions League. Will PSG go back-to-back? Will Bayern Munich, the best team arguably in the world, win the Champions League? For me, it's between these two teams. Atletico Madrid against Arsenal, it will be very close. You see Arsenal be a very defensive team, but they definitely have problems in the attack, and they also have shown consistency issues in recent games, especially in bigger matches, in cup competitions. We saw them lose the EFL Cup final. We saw them lose in the FA Cup against Southampton, and against Sporting, honestly, they weren't that good. If Sporting had more clinical attackers, Sporting could have gone through. So Arsenal are definitely going to be heavily reliant on their midfield and their defensive setup. When if you look at Atletico Madrid, defensively, they actually have not been good at all in this Champions League. If you look at them over the last 2 years, well, in the Champions League over the last 2 years, Barcelona have conceded the most goals, which is expected. But Atletico Madrid aren't far behind them. And this season in the Champions League, the first leg against Barcelona was the only clean sheet that they kept so far in this Champions League. They haven't kept a clean sheet other than that one game. And to be honest, Barcelona peppered them for a majority of the game. So Atletico Madrid defensively have not been good this season. And they've been heavily reliant on their midfield and their attackers, their counter-attacking capability. And I do think against a team like Arsenal, they could be able to counterattack them. But obviously, if Arsenal do end up playing in that low block, it will be very, very hard for Atletico Madrid. So in that tie, honestly, it could go either way. For me, I actually think Atletico Madrid are probably the favorites to go through. I think Arsenal, yes, they can make it through. Yes, they can defend. Yes, they could keep a clean sheet. But with what we've seen from Atletico Madrid so far this season, and yes, they have been inconsistent, but I would slightly favor Atletico Madrid to advance to the final. And as for this game, it could go either way. This could really go either way. For me, I'm going to give the edge to Bayern Munich. Yes, PSG won the Champions League last year. Yes, they're a fantastic team, and they still have the same team that they had last season. Their team didn't go anywhere. They didn't sell any players. They still have one of the best front lines in the world. They still have a fantastic technical midfield, and they still have a very solid defense with two fullbacks that are some of the best and most attacking fullbacks in the world in Hakimi and Mendes. But I think a big part for PSG last season was Donnarumma. I think Donnarumma was crucial for their deep Champions League run and obviously them eventually winning it. Now, they have replaced him with Chevalier, who obviously has had some issues, and now he has been replaced by Stefanov. To be fair, Stefanov was very, very good against Liverpool. I think he got about 9 saves. He was definitely a great player for PSG's team in those ties against Liverpool and one of the main players. And you could possibly help them reach the Champions League final. But I think Bayern Munich are a more complete team. Yes, I still think Bayern Munich have a couple issues defensively. Upamecano has been great. Ta has been pretty good. He does make some mistakes here and there, but he's been pretty good. But I still feel like Bayern Munich are susceptible to conceding goals. And we saw that against Real Madrid, where they conceded 4 goals across 2 legs. So with that being said, I still think Bayern Munich are the more complete team. I think their attack is more clinical than that of PSG's. And that's what I think will carry them to the final. I think both of them have a few defensive issues. I think they both have very technical midfields. But I think in the attack, Bayern Munich are the more clinical of the two teams. I think both of these teams have the best attack in the world. But I think Bayern Munich with Harry Kane, with Olise, and with Diaz, I think these players are more clinical than PSG. If PSG get 20 chances like they did against Liverpool and they only score 2 goals, that's not good enough. Bayern Munich in that game would score at least 5. So for that reason, I think Bayern Munich will slightly edge it against PSG. So early predictions, very, very early. We just had the quarterfinals finished yesterday. But for my early predictions, I'm going to say I do think the final will most likely be Bayern Munich against Atletico Madrid. But that's the end of this video. These obviously aren't my official full predictions, and I will be releasing my semi-final first leg and second leg predictions closer to the actual games in about 10 days or so. So if you guys did enjoy this video and you think that Bayern Munich or PSG and Atletico Madrid or Arsenal will advance to the final, let me know who you guys think is going to be in the final. Do you think it will be PSG or Bayern, or do you think it will be Atletico Madrid or Arsenal? Let me know in the comments down below. But as always, if you enjoyed this video and you've been enjoying all these crazy Champions League games, remember to subscribe to the channel for more Champions League content. And obviously, remember to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and stay tuned for more videos.